Hello, Duke fans. Welcome into the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast, your daily podcast for all things Duke Blue Devils news. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today to get your latest on the Duke Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI. Happy to chat with you guys today as well as every single day. And just like always, we thank you for tuning into this podcast, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to continue to check us out every day. We appreciate the support, and we absolutely love delivering the latest on the Duke Blue Devils to you guys every single day of the week. So as we've talked about it, this offseason, the offseason chaos has really started to dwindle a bit for the Blue Devils. We've talked about kind of how this rotation is set, where this Duke team looks now, kind of, what we're looking at going into the summer. And, with such a lack of action, you start looking at what this roster is going to look like. And instead of, what the roster is going to be on paper, actually, it's now is how is this rotation going to look? I think there's a fairly consensus starting five for the Blue Devils next season, but with so much still to be determined, this is kind of the point where we figure out what pieces fit together, what rotations fit together, what this Duke team on paper at least excels at, what it might lack. Kind of looking at it on paper, this Duke team does not look to be lacking much. It's got the experience, it's got the depth, it's got the continuity, it's got the shooting, it's got the size at every position. Jon Scheyer can go, 10, 11 deep if he really wants to with this roster. It looks like the deepest, and it looks like the team most ready to win a national championship, in my opinion, by far, that Jon Scheyer has had at Duke. Is it the most talented Duke team Jon Scheyer has had? Probably not. I think the most talented Duke team Scheyer has had with Duke, and I don't really think it's close, is 24-25 with Cooper Flagg, Kon Knueppel, Kamen Malowacz, Tyrese Proctor, Sion James in the starting five. Every single one of those starters ended up getting drafted in the 2025 NBA draft. Cooper Flagg and Kon Knueppel went on to be by far the two best rookies in the entire NBA this past season. Cooper Flagg narrowly edging out Kon Knueppel for the NBA Rookie of the Year award. But just in terms of a squad built to win a national championship, I think this squad fits the bill more than any other roster rotation that Jon Scheyer has had. Duke has the upperclassmen, it has the elite freshman talent. It has the bench pieces that would start for 85% of power conference programs. And Jon Scheyer can go 10 or 11 deep if he wants to in the rotation. It's hard to see the weaknesses with this team, at least on paper. It genuinely just is. At first glance, it bodes pretty well to what Jon Scheyer looks for in a roster build, which is defensive length, defensive versatility, shooting, one go-to guy on offense. That's going to be John Blackwell, but just shooting around him. So many facilitators. There's so many guys that will buy into their own roles. Guys like Caleb Foster, who will buy into his role. He's not going to fill up the box score, but he's going to be ready to impact the game in whatever way he can. And then just so much depth in the front court with guys like Dame Sarr, Joakim Boumtje, Drew Charnowski, obviously Patrick Gungba, even got Maxime Meyer. If he does not elect to redshirt this season, which could be fairly expected, I think. Sebastian Wilkins was a redshirt freshman. Cameron Williams. There's just so many guys that Jon Scheyer can plug and play at different positions at any given point, and they can impact the game in so many different ways. And with so much depth, it's obviously such a positive thing, but what that means is inevitable position battles. There's only so many minutes to go around, as we know, and obviously there's only 5 starters on the floor, and there's probably 9 or 10 guys who deserve a starting spot on this Duke team next year. And there will be guys next year who do not play the minutes they were expecting or the minutes they were hoping for, and that's just the nature of the game. It's the nature of roster building, and that's what this summer is going to decide, is which guys are excelling, which guys are maybe falling behind, and what this Duke roster is going to look like, what its strengths are going to be. And obviously this podcast is being recorded on Sunday, May 10th. So we have quite a bit of time until the 2026-27 college basketball season. But it's safe to say that Duke will be entering this campaign as a top 3 to 5 team in college basketball, a heavyweight national title contender, and a team built to win a national title. And with so many elite non-conference games, go check out our story ranking every Duke non-conference game so far at si.com/college/Duke. Duke will take on UConn, Michigan, Michigan State, and Gonzaga so far. Michigan State in the Champions Classic on November 10th. That will be at the United Center in Chicago, where Duke played Arkansas this past season. Duke is 4-1 against Sparty in the Champions Classic. But with this team, it's going to be battle tested in an ACC that looks like it is going to be much better than it's been in any of the past 4, 5, 6 seasons. Louisville looks like a real contender in the conference. We said the same thing last season. They brought in one of the nation's top portal classes. But this one feels a lot more talented. Flory Badunga, Jackson Shelstad, Carter Knox, Alvaro Folgueras, just a lot of depth on this team. Definitely going to be a competitor. You got teams like Miami, who attacked the portal, Virginia, who brought a lot of guys back, namely Tister Ritter, first team all ACC big man. North Carolina, even though not really generating the hype, a team that could definitely be competitive, made some nice portal moves like Terrence Brown, Matt Abel, Neoclis Abdallas, just a lot going on with that program. It's just tough to really believe in them with so much uncertainty with a new coach, with 8 of their top 10 scorers from last season leaving, and a former NBA coach who doesn't have really much experience at all coaching in the college game, especially at the high level college game. But this Duke team is ready to win. It will be battle tested in the non-con. It will be battle tested in the ACC. But like we were talking about before, position battles will come about. I don't think there are that many realistic, true position battles between 1, 2, maybe 3 guys. I think there's just so many guys fighting for 5 spots. I think there's one that's very intriguing and one that I think is a genuine, real position battle that will be going on throughout the summer. I think there's a favorite at this moment in time. I think the favorite is clear, but that doesn't mean that could change in the future. But out of all that's going on with the Duke program so far this offseason, the one position battle that I think is the most relevant, I think it's very clear, is the point guard battle. Who will be starting alongside John Blackwell in the backcourt? You got 5-star Deron Rippey Jr., who I can't imagine comes off the bench. I can't imagine is in the starting 5, at least to begin his career. I think that battle is solely between Caleb Foster, the rising senior, and Caden Boozer, the rising sophomore. And I think it will be a very, very fun battle to watch throughout the summer because they're very, very similar players, really good passers. They're probably not going to light up the box score too often. But really good passers, can facilitate the offense, defend at a high level. They have good size for point guards. Boozer at 6'4", Foster at 6'5". Really good at attacking the basket. I think Caleb Foster was the best rebounding guard in college basketball last season, or at least one of the best. But feels like Caleb Foster versus Caden Boozer, who will start alongside the go-to guy scorer in Blackwell, who needs the ball in his hands, and a facilitator role that Foster and Boozer will play. I think Caleb Foster is the comfortable favorite right now. The reason I think that is just based off his sheer experience. Just he's been there before. He's been to 3 NCAA tournaments with Duke. Granted, he doesn't play much as a sophomore, but he was with the Final Four with Duke. He's been to an Elite 8 twice. I would personally be pretty surprised, at least at this point. Again, this is May. We have so much time to go. Obviously, opinions can change. But at this point, what I think right now, I'd be very surprised if Caleb Foster was not the starting point guard for the Blue Devils next season with John Blackwell. And it really just comes down to his experience and the way he impacts winning. He's, again, like we mentioned, he's not going to light up the box score, but he does so many of the little things right, and he rarely makes mistakes. I'd be very surprised if Shire throws a sophomore out on the floor as opposed to a senior backcourt, which is such a valuable thing in today's day and age of college basketball. So Caleb Foster, as a junior in 2025-26, put together a massive bounce back campaign after a sophomore season where he practically fell out of the rotation for the second half of the season. Felt like a lock for him to enter the portal. His time at Duke was over. But he elected to come back to Duke kind of in the same role he was expected to be as a sophomore, and he absolutely flourished. Dealt with some injuries at the end, but the way this guy impacts winning, he loves being a Blue Devil. You can see it in the way he plays. Again, he's very good at attacking the basket, can score when he needs to. He just doesn't need to that often. He's physical. He's a fantastic defender. I thought he was Duke's best perimeter defender last season. Can rebound at a high level, can guard multiple positions on the floor. So this past season as a junior, Foster averaged career highs in points per game at 8.3, rebounds per game at 3.5, assists per game at 2.8, and field goal percentage at 44.7. He also shot just under 40% from 3 on 3 attempts a night. he just impacts winning in so many different ways. And again, I think a lot of those ways Boozer does the same thing, but just the fact that he's been there before, the fact that Caleb Foster is a senior, I think a senior backcourt is very valuable. And just the fact that Foster has been in the system for now his fourth year with the program. Um, he knows how to operate. He knows how to operate in big time moments. He's been there so many times. He's been in big moments so many times. I think when we saw him come back against St. John's in the Sweet 16, 3 weeks after foot surgery, and will Duke to a win in the second half, I think it just showed kind of the heart that Caleb Foster has, the passion he shows for this Duke team. And it's just hard for me to see him not leading the charge once again. And again, he's such a talented passer and he's very unselfish. He doesn't need to score to be extremely impactful. I think he fits perfectly with a guy like John Blackwell, who wants the ball in his hands, who can go for 25 on any given night, on 10 of 15 shooting and 6 of 7 from three. I just don't see, I don't think there's a lot more to gain from an on paper standpoint from putting Caden Boozer in the starting lineup over Caleb Foster personally. I think Caden Boozer is a fantastic player. I'm so pumped he's back in Duke. I think he's going to be an unreal six man, one of the best six men in the ACC, a former 4-star recruit, just as a sophomore. I just don't see why the senior wouldn't start. I think they're very similar players. I think they impact the game in very similar ways. And just the fact that Caleb Foster has been there before, to me, I think as soon as he announced his return, he was thrust into the starting lineup. I have to assume that if Jon Scheyer told Caleb Foster that he could potentially be coming off the bench, you have to think that that would have swayed his decision a bit. Obviously, you're not going to make a decision like that right now, at least from Scheyer's standpoint of who would definitely be starting between Foster and Boozer, because it's just too close to call. But hard to imagine that wouldn't impact Foster's decision if he didn't at least feel confident he was going to be the starter. But there still is a strong case for Caden Boozer to be this team's starting point guard next season. And when Caleb Foster went down in the ACC tournament, missed the entirety of the ACC tournament, missed the first 2 games of the NCAA tournament, 5 games in total, where Caden Boozer got full reins of the backcourt, and he was absolutely fantastic. He played on the court at the same time with Caleb Foster a lot during his rookie season, but didn't have a chance to run the offense for the long term really at all. Obviously, Duke's point guard depth was very much lacking last season outside of Caleb Foster. There was really no other point guard on the roster. There was hardly even another true guard on the roster besides Isaiah Evans, just a ton of wings. But Caden Boozer had the keys to his offense handed to him, and he went to work. He struggled early in his first game, kind of in that elevated role, which was against Florida State in the ACC tournament. Caleb Foster didn't miss this entire game, or this is the first game that Caleb Foster missed. Boozer went for 9 points on 3 of 10 shooting. Duke barely got out of that. If Duke fans remember that, 180-79. But Boozer struggled. Went for 9 points on 3 of 10 shooting, 0 of 5 from 3, 1 assist to 2 turnovers in 22 minutes. But after that, Caden Boozer was absolutely fantastic. Tallied career highs in his next 3 games in scoring. And in the 5 games in total that Caleb Foster missed, Caden Boozer averaged 13.4 points, 3.4 rebounds, tallied 16 assists to 9 turnovers, and played over 35 minutes a night in 4 of those games, including 40 minutes against Virginia in the ACC title game, where he went for 16 points, 5 assists, 4 steals, or 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and 2 turnovers on 6 of 12 shooting in 40 minutes. I think he really showed that he can run an offense. That was one thing where I thought it was, I didn't think it was getting enough attention that Caden Boozer might hit the portal, because he showed in that 5-game stretch he can run an elite offense and he can lead the charge for a championship caliber team. And before Caleb Foster made his decision, Caden Boozer made his to come back, which is, again, I think another interesting factor in this battle. But Caden Boozer is a very talented player. Again, would start on probably 90% of power conference teams as a starting point guard. It really just comes down to the experience level for me, and just the fact that Caleb Foster has been there a lot more times. I think they're very similar players. I mean, you could argue that Caleb Foster's outside shot is more proven as well than Caden Boozer. Caden Boozer is regarded as a solid outside shooter, shot 30% from 3 on 1.7 attempts Um, Obviously, Foster a little bit more reliable of a 3-point shooter, but I think defensively, from a rebounding standpoint, a passing standpoint, I think Caleb Foster takes a little bit better care of the basketball consistently, but that just comes with experience. But I think they're two great players, and when it comes down to it, it's just experience. It's a guy like Caleb Foster who's been in the system for now 3 years, and having a senior backcourt is very, very advantageous in today's era of college basketball. Caleb Foster, or Caden Boozer, I apologize, will be one of the best six men in the country. But I think Caleb Foster is this team's starting point guard next season. But that is going to do it for us here today at the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today. Make sure to check us out at si.com/college/Duke. Check us out every day wherever you get your podcast, whether that be YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever it may be. Once again, my name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI, and I'll see you tomorrow.